Peñiscola, Spain. In my opinion, one of the most beautiful seaside towns in all of Spain, famous for their medieval castle where El Cid won the big battle to expel the Moors from Valencia, and also they have such amazing seafood. Today, I'm going to show you how to make one of their most classic dishes. We're talking un Suquet de Pescado. This is basically a Spanish seafood stew, and let me tell you, it's got so many great flavors. It's very easy to make, and it comes together in about 45 minutes. You know, with all the seafood stews that are out there, this one right here really stands out above the rest. Why? Because it's so simple, no tricky techniques. Like I always tell you, the Spanish kitchen, less is more, simplicity means extraordinary. But then you take that first bite and it completely blows you away. Let's begin by patting down a piece of cod with some paper towels. This is 400 grams, which equals 14 ounces. Now I bought this cod frozen and thawed it out just to make things cheaper. Of course, you can totally use fresh cod here as well as any other type of white fish. Once the cod's been patted completely dry, I'm going to cut it into big chunks that are about 1 inch by 1 inch. And we'll lightly season the pieces of cod with a little sea salt and some black pepper. For the next ingredient, I'm going to grab about 15 raw jumbo shrimp. These are peeled and deveined, frozen and thawed out. Once again, so important to pat them down completely dry with paper towels. When you're using fish that you bought frozen and thawed out, this helps remove any of the excess liquid in the fish. That way when you cook it, it's got a great texture and it absorbs all the flavors. And once again, lightly season the shrimp with a little sea salt and some black pepper. And for the final seafood ingredient to prepare, I'm going to grab about 12 fresh mussels, and using a steel cloth, you want to scrub those mussels clean, making sure to remove any of the barnacles or any of the excess dirt. And reserved, I also have one large potato that I cut into chunks that are about 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, one large tomato that I finely grated, half of an onion that I roughly diced, and 4 cloves of garlic that I thinly sliced. Alright, let's start cooking our Spanish seafood stew. I'm going to grab a large saute pan. You want to use a pan here that's nice and deep. That way it holds all the ingredients. You can also use a stock pot. I'm going to heat it with a medium-high heat and add in 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. After heating the olive oil for about 90 seconds, I'm going to add in the roughly diced onion and the thinly sliced garlic. And start mixing these ingredients around with that olive oil. Very important to mix these continuously. We are on a medium-high heat. That way nothing burns and everything cooks evenly. After about 3 minutes and the onion is nice and translucent and all the ingredients are developing a light golden fried color, I'm going to add in the grated tomato. And once again, give this a quick mix. That way all the ingredients are evenly mixed around. At this point, you don't have to mix this continuously. Just let that grated tomato fry in that extra virgin olive for a couple minutes or until it thickens up. After 2 to 3 minutes, and you see that that grated tomato has really thickened up, I'm going to add in the chunks of potato and season everything with a generous teaspoon of sweet smoked Spanish paprika, a generous 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme, a pinch of sea salt, and some freshly cracked black pepper. We'll give this a quick mix. That way all these ingredients are evenly mixed together. Add in 2.5 cups of a good quality fish broth. And 1/4 teaspoon of saffron threads. And we'll give this a quick mix. Now the saffron I'm using to make this Spanish seafood stew is once again from Golden Saffron. This is one of my personal favorite saffrons. It's got a great flavor. It's super high quality. Link where you can get some in the description box below. Once the broth comes to a boil, I'm going to place a lid on the pan and lower the fire from a medium-high heat to a low-medium heat. And we're gonna simmer this for about 20 minutes or until the potatoes are almost perfectly cooked. After about 20 minutes, I'm gonna remove the lid from the pan. And at this point, the potatoes should be cooked al dente. You don't want to fully cook them through, otherwise they're going to fall apart. You can always pierce them with a toothpick. If it easily goes in, but with some resistance, they are perfectly cooked al dente. For the next step, I'm going to add in the pieces of cod and mix them around. That way they're evenly distributed throughout the pan. About 1 minute after adding the cod, I'm going to add in the shrimp into the pan. And our 12 mussels. We'll place the lid back on top of the pan. And once again, we're going to increase our heat back to a medium-high heat. And we're going to go between 2 to 3 minutes. This is enough time to get those shrimp to be perfectly cooked and to get all those mussels to open up. After 3 minutes, I'm going to remove the lid from the pan. And check it out, look how beautiful this turned out. All the mussels are fully open and that seafood is perfectly cooked. You don't want to overcook it. And those potatoes are now perfectly cooked, but they still kept their shape. I'm going to remove the pan from the heat. Transfer some of the stew into a shallow bowl. And we'll sprinkle it with some freshly chopped parsley. Our Suquet de Pescado is done, a beautiful Spanish seafood stew from the small seaside town of Peñiscola. Let's give it a try and see how it turned out. Like I always tell you, this is what Spanish food is all about. Incredible aromas coming out of this. Here we go. It's absolutely delicious. That combination of that sweet smoked Spanish paprika with that dried thyme in the saffron, it's an explosion of goodness. That cod and the shrimp perfectly cooked through. Speaking of the fish, let's try these mussels. Here we go. They just kind of melt in your mouth. You saw this Suquet de Pescado from the beautiful town of Peñiscola. Make it at home, comes together in about 45 minutes. The flavors are so good and it warms your body with so much goodness. Really quick before I go, a shout out to a couple of my patrons, Terry K. Clean and Robert Jefferson, aka the Kamakura Gardener. Again guys, thank you for being patrons of Spain on a Fork. You know how much I appreciate you. For the rest of you, if you're not with me on Patreon, consider becoming one. It helps with ingredients and equipment to continue making videos like this. You'll find my Patreon link in the description box below and iCard above. If you enjoyed today's video, hit that like button, leave me a comment below, and if you're not subscribed, smash that subscribe button. Till the next time, hasta luego.